Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
Hey guys, this is your co-host Ashley, Gorilla Girl filmmaker, lunar goddess, and cinephile.
And I'm your co-host John Thomas, ghost hunter, super smartass, and film lover extraordinaire.
What's up, ghouls, gals, and all of you who love to dive into the much, much darker topics. In today's episode, we'll be discussing demonology with a 3Haunted twist. Join us as we dive into this dark, disturbing world. And by the way, don't try this at home.
But first, a word from our network sponsor.
Are you looking for more awesome podcasts? Head on over to withoutyourhead.com for access to the Without Your Head podcast network, where you'll find a variety of podcasts sure to keep you entertained and coming back for more.
All I can think about is like a demon like filleting somebody's skin off. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways.
Tastes like chicken. There you go.
Oh, on we go. Funny you mentioned that. I once met a person who does autopsies, and they told me that every time that they would do autopsies, they would get a craving for fried chicken. So afterwards, they would go get KFC. And I'm like, there's something
Gross.
wrong with you.
Yeah. I don't think I could actually do that. I was joking, but
So yeah, there you go. All right. Yum. I bet that's what they'd like for their marketing material, right? Like someone doing an autopsy. I would like some KFC.
tastes
Okay.
like chicken. Extra crispy or just regular?
Guess it depends on how they ended. Okay, so
That's how you join right in the middle of a podcast. I'm just joking.
bring it back, John.
Welcome back, everybody. We have a special returning guest. Mr. Shane is back with us. Hello, Shane. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Ready
Fantastic to hear.
get spooky.
Yeah. Super excited to talk about this topic. As you guys know, ongoing recurring theme, Ashley and her demons. So I am stoked to dive into this world to discuss it. But I would like to start with, I have never, nor will I ever, summon a demon. So anybody out there who's been curious about that, my love does not extend that far. I do not practice the art of evocation. There is no demon summoning going on here.
No.
Would you even call that an art? I guess to
I'm sure
somebody
you
it's
would.
an art.
I mean, it does take skill.
I imagine if you're summoning these creatures from another world, it's got to take a lot of skill. You can't just go knocking on a door. Well,
Well, it's kind of like sword fighting.
what?
You can either do it with skill or you can just do it, and then there's consequences afterwards.
All right, sorry.
You know?
So I'm so used to being
Dirty?
on that side of that's where I went with the whole sword fighting thing. Sorry, Shane.
I know. I was like, how is this like sword?
It was- yeah,
he
it
means
was just
literally.
Automatic
I mean-
response there. Sorry.
Either or. You know?
Either one, you need a little skill.
Yeah.
But I learned from the Ghostbusters, just don't cross the streams.
Dear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like how Shane just looks
same
off to the
thing.
side. Okay.
That's how you start an episode.
It sure is. So let's talk about demons. We're talking about the study of demons. What exactly are demons?
Let's talk about demons. Well, demons are essentially fallen angels if you go off of the Christianity context. But they are evil entities or entities that serve a purpose in the realm of hell. And they all have a task. There's presidents, there's lieutenants, there's all kinds of different jobs that they have down there, and they're just waiting on some poor sap to draw that circle and summon them up and see if they can yank a soul, barter one.
Yeah, I found it interesting that just even researching the basic levels of different demons across cultures, not one culture really disagrees that demons are anything but evil, right? Wherever they reside, they are not like your friendly neighborhood. I don't even know. They're not going to come bring you a welcome basket with chocolate chip cookies. I know, Shane, you've talked about in the past, there's the Jinn over in the Middle East, which are a form of demons, and they were actually even described in the Quran. But we also have the Baku in the Japanese folklore, which I thought those were actually kind of interesting because Baku are demons, but they actually are summoned to eat nightmares. So apparently they're nightmare eaters. So people that are having a lot of nightmares would summon the Baku to eat their nightmares. But it was always like a warning that just be careful, because if you don't have nightmares that are going to satiate them, they'll also devour your hopes and dreams. So you better hope that you have enough nightmare to fill them up. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. And legend has it that the Baku were created from the leftover pieces from when God finished creating all other animals. So they're like the Oscar Mayer Wiener, or like bologna of demons. And I thought that was interesting. So they're the nightmare eaters, but they're demons.
I've always thought demonology or demons to be really interesting, and they've always attracted my attention because I love the historic value of it. When I mean, it goes as far back as as far back as people started writing down history, sightings of it and encounters of any kind of demons. And actually, one of the most interesting manuscripts is the Testament of Solomon. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. So you know who King Solomon was, right? He actually wrote the book, The Lesser Key of Solomon. I don't know if you've heard of that, or the Goetia. And then the Testament of Solomon was basically, it was his testament on how he built Babylon. And he utilized demons to help build Babylon. And he actually describes in this text different demons from different religions and different parts of the region of like Europe and the Middle East: Greek, Egyptian, Jewish, Christian, Arabic, which is interesting because usually, especially if you kind of subscribe to one religion, you don't really care about the other, the demons or the entities on other religions. But he listed off a bunch of different ones on how he actually built that great city.
Yeah, I found it interesting in his history. Wasn't he pretty much a proponent against it, and wanting to find it was almost like by creating, unless I'm mixing them up. Let me see. Give me just a moment. I might be actually mixing up my people.
Yeah, King James for sure was.
Oh, yeah, I am. I was thinking of King James. Okay, so we got King Solomon. King James. Yeah, King James. King James was the one who created the Demonology book, but that was used to basically say, here's witchcraft, here's sorcery, here's demon practice, and here's what happens to you if you do it, and all the consequences. So he was actually, let's kill them all, basically, and this is the demon book that explains this is how you basically spot a witch, or this is how you spot the people that are practicing this, and this is what happens to you if you partake in that. King Solomon was different, so I was mixing up my kings for a moment.
So King Solomon, fabulously wealth and wise monarch of the United Kingdom of Israel. According to the Talmud, Solomon was one of the 48 Jewish prophets in the Quran. He is considered to be a major Islamic prophet. Hebrew Bible identifies Solomon as the builder of the first temple in Jerusalem. He dedicated the temple to Yahweh, which is interesting because I remember seeing a lot of texts or manuscripts about King Solomon too, about him being a very religious person. But the fact that he used the Lemegeton, he used pretty much black magic to summon these demons and control them in order to do his bidding. Solomon also came to be known as a magician and exorcist, with numerous amulets and medallions, seals dated from the Hellenistic period. The Lesser Key of Solomon that was written with a lot of the what he used, which is called the Megaton Clavicula Salomonis, he has all the seals of pretty much all 72 demons in there, all the way ranking from King Baal to Count Andromalius. That's a mouthful.
That's what she said.
How?
Beat me to it.
That's what she said.
Oh gosh. Yeah, he's got the 72 sigils in there. And I find it interesting for being a spiritual person, he created a grimoire. And that's like for the pure purpose of summoning demons. It's not like he had angels in there or sigils of like angels or anything that might be considered like a divine light. It was all demons.
Well, there's actually one that I believe he made or someone made, and I think they were inspired, but also has the sigils of the angels as well as the angelic language. I believe I remember seeing that somewhere.
That's not this
during my
episode.
studies.
No, I'm kidding.
No, yeah, that's another episode.
So have you heard, I know you did, a lot of research when you were younger. Did you ever stumble across the Grand Grimoire?
Probably. Tell me more.
So I think it has like different editions around like 1521, 1522, but I think they say it was probably written in the early 19th century. So the introductory chapter is actually crediting an author by the name of Antonio Venetiana del Rabina, who supposedly gathered his information from original writings of King Solomon. So a lot of his material is kind of inspired by the Key of Solomon and the Lesser Key of Solomon. But this one is more specifically geared towards summoning and making a pact with Lucifer. And it also, I believe, references 3 other demons. I think it's Lucifer, Beelzebub, or no, I'm sorry, it's just the 3.
Astaroth.
Lucifer, Beelzebub, and Astaroth. And so
Astaroth was my favorite.
and I think his is divided into 2 books, but the first one is specifically for this is how you summon a demon and the tools needed. So it's like a hadith, like a how-to, which is kind of funny because then the second book is more so like how you do other magic and rituals.
Right.
It's like you think you'd start with the easier stuff first and then go into but he just gets you right at the beginning.
Right into it. Well, I mean, really, it's one and the same. I mean, it just depends on what you need. That's how it was back then. What do you need? What do you want to accomplish? How important do you want to be? What techniques do you want? That's who you would summon, and you would inscribe their names. But I mean, it's important to note that you had to be very, very accurate and flawless with your protective circles, because if you weren't, I read once that if there's a crack in it, the demon that you summon can actually turn on you and just devour your soul right there and take you down hell.
Which is interesting because, we can Google demon summoning rituals, evocations. There's not much out there. I did find a YouTube video that was hilarious. It was animated, and it's like the how-tos of how to evoke a demon. And I was just like, this is hilarious. But the only thing I could find out there that were pretty common, but I feel like people are very careful about putting how to do it. It seemed like the most common things that I found were, using candles, incense, and the sigil. It's always the sigil. And a few of them did reference the demon's prayer. I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently you recite that too. What I did find interesting is not a one of them referenced drawing a circle.
Yeah, it's to get into medieval times where there was a lot of people doing it for their own purposes, the Dark Ages, and then where you would have to inscribe the 7 names of God inside the circle, amongst other things, and that would protect you ultimately against the demon.
Yeah, I was curious because I've seen the sigils and they have like all sorts of pictures from the Lesser Key of Solomon with like the 72 sigils in there. And I was just like, well, someone had to draw those, someone had to make those, right? Like they didn't just randomly appear. Those had to be created by somebody. So I looked up the origins of sigils and I thought it was pretty freaking cool because it really does tie into some of the topics that we've talked about before, like sacred geometry and the power of energy in visual representations. Because for me, I was like, okay, I get a sigil is supposed to be a demon's picture, but like how is that a thing? And then when I learned how they created the sigils to come up with those pictures, I was like, oh, okay. So there's a really precise skill they use mathematics, and they use the math squares with the perfect math numbers in them. And then they use the numerical representation, so numerology, anybody, of the demon's name to draw within those math squares, come up with the different lines and circles based on that to create these images and sigils. So it's very precise to like the demon's name using mathematics and numerology. And I was like, wow, that's pretty freaking cool. So they actually have full sigils out there for demons and angels based on their names. And it's considered to be the truest form of the demon's name. So like saying their name and like picturing them or whatever, sure, that carries some energy. But apparently a lot of the occult world, all the way back to the medieval times and even before that, agree that like this is the truest way to connect to whatever entity you're trying to draw up, be it a demon or an angel. You rarely hear people trying to summon angels that way, but hey, it's out there.
Yeah, there was so when I was used to study as a young lad, a lot of this stuff, I remember coming across something that always stuck in my mind, and that was there was a school that I read about, and it was and somewhere in Europe, I believe in Romania, and it was a school for sorcerers or to learn black magic, exclusive to learn black magic, and you had to basically be recruited by somebody who was there, or who was a member already, and you get your lessons directly from Satan, and you do that by listening to the wall, and that's how he whispers the secrets of black magic to you through the wall. And I always stuck in my head because I was like, does that place really exist? And, where is this place? So I did a Googling recently, now that we're talking about this, and I found something. It's called the Scholomance. It was a fabled school of black magic in Romania, especially in the region of Transylvania. It was run by the devil, according to folkloric accounts. The school enrolled about 10 students to become the Solomonari. Courses taught included the speech of animals and magic spells. One of the graduates was chosen by the devil to be the weather maker and tasked with riding a dragon to control the weather. The school lay underground, and the students remained unexposed to sunlight for the 7-year duration of their study. The dragon was kept submerged in a mountaintop lake south of Sibiu, according to some accounts. So how about that?
I mean, I feel like we all kind of consider our principal or headmaster like that's, Satan at some point in life. But I mean, holy cow, could you imagine if that were real and being underground for 8 years, not being able to see the sun or sunlight? Like, hell yeah, you're going to be talking to the devil.
Yeah, it's, and I have to wonder too, like a lot of the stuff that was written about certain things like this back then, like how much is really like, lore or fairy tale, and how much there's truth, I believe, to a lot of things, so I wonder how much of it was actually true or stemmed from some sort of truth. What if there was a giant monster or something like that back then that is now extinct? Who knows?
Doesn't that feel kind of like a letdown, though? Like, you spend 8 years underground talking to the devil, like learning all of his secrets, and the best thing you get for graduation, if you're valedictorian, is you get to control the weather in your area.
And ride a dragon.
Yeah, but like that's going to get old after a while.
Okay, have you ever seen Never Ending Story?
And you traded your soul to ride a dragon?
Yeah, the soul part.
Who doesn't?
I'd be like, I'm good.
I'm just saying, to ride a dragon, a fucking dragon. Like,
I don't know.
Yeah.
dragons are cool, but
Like,
that's going to get old after a while.
Soul.
Think about roller coasters. Like, they're fun, but after a while, you ride the same one day in and day out over and over and over. It's going to lose its
Some people
novelty.
lose their heads over those.
I think that's the divine comedy of it, though, right? Is that's the devil gets his way, either way. So
You thought you were getting something grand, and you get to ride a dragon and control the weather.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would love to control the weather.
here's okay. I just read this that book you were talking about, the Grand Grimoire.
Yeah.
It's also known as Le Dragon Rouge.
Yeah, the red dragon.
The red dragon.
Yeah.
So it's a book that contains yeah. So I wonder if that has anything to do with it.
That's probably what they use. Make a pact. Like, that's chapter 1 when you get to school, like 101, right? Is you have to make the pact. And then from there, you get all your lessons from old G Lucifer himself.
Right. Well, earlier when Shane was talking about listening to the
You almost
wall,
called me
I'm
Satan.
automatically thinking Pink Floyd.
I almost called you Satan.
Earlier when Satan was talking, Shane was.
Satan was talking.
You know, that guy.
It's okay. No offense.
No.
If you're gonna call him by his demon name, you have to use the right one.
Well, it's not Satan. Sorry.
I'm not thoroughly convinced that Pink Floyd didn't get his motivation or his influence from the devil. How else were they so talented? You know.
Right.
Actually, it's like I don't like Pink Floyd.
I think it's interesting that like there's a branch. It's like if you can say postmodernism when it comes to magic, but there's a branch of magic practice that's chaos magic, and they use sigils, but they use them in a different way. So they use like manifestation. So what you desire, your outcome, you write repeatedly in these designs and circles, and then you focus on those as your sigil. So it's more of like a manifestation, law of attraction thing. But the guy who kind of started that was, I believe it was Austin Osman Spare. He's an artist and an occultist. But his belief was the sigils being used even back in the, pre-existing esoteric kind of day. They were not truly calling upon demons, but they were calling upon the unconscious. And so what people thought were demons, they were actually manifesting out their subconscious. And so to him, he saw it more as like a psyche kind of interaction and working through your unconscious material. So for him, he used the sigils to help people or himself bring about manifestation of your desires. And by focusing on these sigils, you would soak it into your subconscious. Because you'd have to do stuff before you stared at it to prepare yourself to be in that space. And then they would stare at these sigils and do these ceremonies to kind of bring themselves into that space. And then it would basically let the subconscious desire, like, just work on it. So it basically implants it to be completely worked on by your subconscious mind so that you yourself can manifest it. But people would identify what comes up as like a demon. I thought that was different, interesting psychological like interpretation of it.
Yeah, and I mean you can even get metaphysical too, like kind of like, hey, well, rather than demons, what if they are just interdimensional beings? I mean, I just got done watching the Eternals, and most of the gods back then that they thought were gods were just schmucks from another planet working for Celestial. So
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that kind of, I mean, granted there's a religious aspect, but if you peel back the layers of the lesser key of Solomon, I mean, aren't they all dominated by the four elementals? And he kind of refers to them as elemental beings to begin with versus like demons. So like they have the north, south, east, west that dominates all of them. So maybe there is some kind of interdimensional elemental aspect that isn't quite so like fallen angel Christian based entity. I don't know.
yeah, and I think that's where it comes from, like Christian influence. The Christian influence were the hierarchies of the demons and what they did, that they were actually seraphim, cherubim. The Beelzebub, for instance, was the first prince of the seraphim, just below Lucifer. He was the first of three angels to fall, and he tempts men with pride. And then it goes on to say it is opposed by Saint Francis of Assisi. So it's a lot of it is Christian influenced. So I think these are, like you were saying, these are elementals, or these are much more than just demons. But they are very powerful beings, and they don't like to be toyed with. They don't like to be summoned for just meaningless shit. As the tale of Mephistopheles tells, they want you to actually do something with their power that they give you, and if you don't, they come back and tear you apart.
I did find it humorous. I stumbled upon a site where they were going through the breakdown of summoning a demon, and they said demons are irritated by circles. They do nothing for them. So to try and trap them in one is highly agitated. And I'm like, did a demon write this? They're trying to like encourage you to not, don't bother with them. They're annoying.
Right. If Supernatural has taught us anything, no. I'm just kidding.
I was like, oh, really? They just
by the
don't
way-
like them, so don't bother with them.
Don't bother with them. And by the way, post that on YouTube if you do. We want to see what the outcome.
We want to see what happens.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
want to see. That sounds like it's going to be rather terrifying and messy. All I can think of is that movie Drag Me Down to Hell.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
People play with demons, though. I mean, they play with that, and I don't quite understand why. I mean, we see it. People play Bloody Mary, and what is she? She's not some angelic being. And they had that. Did you guys ever hear about that 2015 challenge? It was like almost like a TikTok challenge. It's the Charlie challenge.
Oh yeah, the Charlie one. That was what I was going to bring up for the whole paranormal games, but I forgot about it.
Yeah. So, like, these teens would video themselves taking a piece of paper, drawing a square separated into 4 sections, and it would be like yes, yes, no, no. They would have pencils perpendicular, and then they would ask, Charlie, are you here? And wait for the pencils to move, either yes or no. To me, that's like a Ouija board. But for them, for a lot of the people, they're like, you're summoning a demon. And it's like, maybe that seems kind of loose to be summoning a demon, but what do I know? I guess all it takes is the energy in it, right? So if you're like, I want to see a demon, and that's how I'm gonna evoke it by saying, "Are you here?" Then maybe
once you open that
that's
door.
all it takes. Yeah, maybe it is simple. It doesn't need to be convoluted with candles, incense, and sigils.
Yeah.
Although I imagine those don't hurt.
Right.
So I have a question for you, Shane.
Sure.
Since you're like the king of demons. No, I'm kidding. Why are there 7 layers of hell? Why are there? Because I think that's referenced right in the lesser.
Of the 7 circles.
Yeah, the 7 circles. Why? Because like we don't hear about that in heaven. There's not like 7 circles of heaven. So why is that something like they're literally like dimensions?
Well, according to the pact, it's funny because that actually went into popular culture with, I don't know if you've ever seen or read Spawn, but it was actually in that movie or in the comic book. I used to have the comic book. I was a huge Image Comics fan, but they actually branched off and really expanded on like the different circles of hell and why they exist. But it's hard to believe or hard to know what to believe because a lot of it is Christianity influenced. And it was really based on the pact that was made between God and Satan. And when Lucifer fell, depending on what your sins or level of sins are, that's where you go. And that's why you always are being told, you got the last circle of hell for you, especially for you.
I was curious about that. And then like are they all fallen angels? Like the capitanos of each circle are all fallen angels, or are they like derivatives of Lilith? Like some of them are creations of the main masters of I don't know.
Well, according to there's a lot of different documents on that and what their ranking and hierarchy is, but there are it's an army. It is what it was, and that's what it was supposed to have followed Lucifer during the during the defeat of Lucifer and his angels, is when he fell, they fell with him. And their ranking when they were in heaven, their ranking basically carried on over to hell, and they have a certain amount of demons. Now, those lesser demons, I'm not sure if they were made or if they just were fallen angels as well. What is said in the documents is the main ones, like the lieutenants and the president of those presidents of hell, which is crazy to me. They are like the head honchos. They call the shots.
So who here has tried to summon a demon?
I've tried.
How'd that go for you? He's like, I plead the 5th.
So I didn't draw a circle, and I actually read out of, I forget what manuscript I read out of, but it was a very old manuscript that I stumbled across. There was a spell in there, and it was called the Unnamed Spell. No one knows what it does or what its purpose was. I can't say that I was meaning to summon a demon, but you were supposed to recite it 7 times, and I got to about 6, and it got ice cold where I was, and like I could see my breath, and the lights started flickering, and I stopped. Didn't say anything else. I closed the book and left. that was
Yeah, I
that
don't blame
was
you.
and that was my encounter, and I haven't finished it yet.
Right.
Yeah, I like how you say yet. It wasn't, and I'm not going to. It's yet.
Yet.
I've never really tried to, but I did try to start studying demonology. I ended up having some really freaky ass dreams, and I hadn't even like opened a book. I had just gotten a list of books to start, buying and grabbing and everything else. There was one night where, and I don't know if this was a dream or not, but I was sleeping, and at that point it was summertime, and I was asleep with just the sheets, and I literally felt the sheet pull tight and like basically keep me in the bed, and I couldn't move, I couldn't do anything, I couldn't scream, it scared the shit out of me. And then the next day I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do this. And I threw all the notes away, and then I was fine. But like, yeah, I just, nope. That was all it took.
You mean you didn't draw a sigil with your blood
No, ma'am.
into a black etched glass to call a demon?
No. You're the one all about the blood. Like,
Damn
no.
right I am.
Blood magic.
Heck yes.
sir.
I feel like if there was a magic that I was going to hypothetically partake in, it would be blood magic, which is considered a dark magic, which I don't understand that. I feel like if you were taking it forcefully from somebody, or like a sacrifice, like an animal sacrifice, that would make sense. But it's like, if it's consensual, why is that dark?
Yeah, I get that.
Just, logically making that cool in my head.
Right. Hey, it's still cool. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I think that there are a few things that are true to us, that are specific to us, and that carry our signature, like our true name, because using our given name isn't the same impact, right? And I think that blood is one of those. I think blood is your truest signature. So
Right.
that's just me. But I don't do magic, and I don't summon demons. That doesn't mean they don't like to appear to me. I just don't call them.
Right.
I've always been curious.
About?
Summoning demons. I've always been curious.
Trying to call your brethren?
I've always wanted to see if it worked.
I mean, you almost got there.
Almost. Well, I don't even know what that would have done, though.
Yeah, you didn't have a circle.
I didn't have anything. That was the introduction.
Although I'm still confused how a circle, because telephone, right? So what might have been powerful and protective early on, like thousands of years ago, may not be, as stories have passed down, the same. So are they effective? Like just drawing a circle nowadays, it might have been, like you said, I didn't even know about that other stuff where you draw the names of the angels in the circle, and you have to make sure, like, holy moly, that sounds more like an effective circle to me than taking a piece of chalk and drawing it on the floor, or salt, whatever. So
No, it had to be, and it's funny is I can't find it anymore. But when I read up on it, I found a text when I was younger, and it's very, very precise. It gives instructions to saying you can't have a single crack in the circle. If you do, your soul's gone. The demon that you summoned will kill you and bring you down to hell, because first of all, it's annoyed that you summoned it in the first place.
Right.
and in a circle, apparently.
Those damn circles.
They don't like circles.
I was going to say, those damn circles.
Yeah, the circles are useless. Don't
do them. It makes sense, though, that it's kind of terrifying a bit, but it makes sense that, like, probably back in the day, there was a specific technique and art to protecting yourself if you are going to be trying to interact with these things that are not from this world. And isn't it a little disturbing that it's been so simplified now that people are probably less protected? Like, I don't even need the circles. They don't even serve a purpose. Right. Well, yeah, because you're not doing it right. Or maybe it's like a belief. Maybe if you believe in it, that's what makes the circle, the belief.
Maybe.
But you better believe in that circle, because when Baal or Lucifer or any of them come a knocking, you do not want to be That is not when you should be questioning your belief.
So have you guys heard the story of Faust?
You told it to us, right? In one of the episodes?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit, yeah.
It's story time. I'm ready.
Story time. Storytelling time. Okay, so the name of Mephistopheles is frequently used as an alternative form of Satan or the devil. So when Faust, when he summoned Mephistopheles, he's actually summoning Satan himself. This was a book that was written, but it was kind of like a lesson. Several legends grew up with Mephistopheles according to certain extra-biblical texts relating to Christian mysticism. In a number of related works written during the 17th century, Mephistopheles was the first to join with Lucifer during the rebellion against God at the beginning of time. When the rebel jinn were banished from heaven, Mephistopheles was the second to fall after Lucifer. In exchange for his loyalty, Lucifer granted him power in Jinnistan, appointing him his second in command. Another belief was that Mephistopheles was a jinn that assisted God in the creation of the universe. He was known for the designing of orca whales, seals, and a few other ocean mammals, typically working with a fellow jinn named Serenus.
That's so random.
All right.
Sorry. It's just like he made these animals.
Serenus is known for creating dolphins in particular. Eventually, Mephistopheles joined Lucifer's banner due to his jealousy toward humans. So anyway, so the story was basically Dr. Faust, who was a philosopher way back when. He summoned Mephistopheles because he wanted absolute power and talent, and Mephistopheles was the teacher, essentially. He could give unlimited knowledge. That was what he was known for. And so when he summoned him, he taught him everything. He showed him. I would recommend for whoever listens to this, for subscribers or even you guys, but read up on it because the story is really, really awesome. I think it was made into a play too, because Mephistopheles takes him on this whole adventure, takes him to these witches as they're doing these witches circles, and says, "Hey, look what they're doing. This is how they're doing this," and then takes them all over the place, showing them different things and how to learn the arts or the magical arts. And so after bestowing all this magic power on Faust does wonderful things. He's famous. He knows how to do all of these things, right? But then he starts to get bored, and he starts to drink and spend his nights, sexing it up in taverns and getting drunk. And that's all he does at one point. And so because of that, he wastes his power. One night, he basically gets torn apart by Lucifer. And all the people in the tavern, all they heard sleeping was the howling of dogs and horrendous mutilated screams from Faust, coming from Faust's room. And when they woke up in the morning, they went to his room, and then they only found a single eyeball pointing up from the corner of the room.
Nice.
That's the abridged.
Abridged version. I found it interesting that, like, with the King James demonology, there was some speculation that Shakespeare wrote Macbeth based on King James' obsession with demonizing, pun intended, witchcraft and demonology, but witchcraft in general, and like the consequences against that, and was inspired by that kind of frenzy. And so Macbeth, if you remember the three witches, was supposedly highly inspired by King James' obsession with the witches. But if you remember Macbeth, like, the witches weren't his downfall. It was Macbeth's own doing that was his downfall. So it was kind of like a commentary on King James' kind of craziness, fanaticism over witches, and yeah, pretty interesting.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So what is everyone's favorite demon here?
Only the ones that I've played with. Well, oh gosh, wow. I make myself laugh. I don't know. I was writing a screenplay that I'm still kind of working on and off, that was about demons and Lilith, and I really got into studying Asmodeus.
Asmodeus.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds familiar.
And what is he the demon of? You wanna tell everyone?
Do you really want to know?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's coming from Ashley, so I mean, it's gotta.
He's
I already
the
know what Asmodeus is. He's the guy, the demon of lust, right?
yeah, he's a ruler of indulgence and lust. He's like, I already know. Damn it, Shane. Yes. So I did a lot of research back then on some of the different common kind of rulers or princes of the 7 layers of 7 circles of hell, and that one stuck out to me. And not because he's the demon of lust, but I mean that sure didn't hurt.
Sure.
Shut up. I said it didn't hurt.
Shut up. Yeah, that's what she said.
Boom.
So you don't have a favorite demon?
I don't
No?
think I do. Honestly, no.
You kind of, it seems you kind of stay away from that whole realm, right?
Yes and no. I mean, like I said, I definitely don't study or try to study anymore. That was like years ago when that happened. But yeah, no, I don't even know if I could. I mean, I probably could, but like off the top of my head, I don't even think I can name like 5 or 6 of them, to be honest with you.
I think mine is Astaroth or Ashtaroth.
You sure did give that name quite fast when we were talking about the the grand. What was it? The great grimoire.
The Grand Grimoire.
Yeah, the grand grimoire.
War, yeah.
Why that one?
Well, I'm reading on the history, so I kind of got lost in this. So Astaroth was always my favorite because he was the Grand Duke of Hell in the first hierarchy. He's one of the main head honchos. He is part of the evil trinity. So what's funny is like it's a him, but it's also a her, and there's texts that go as far back as Babylon and actually relate so Astaroth could be the actual equivalent of the Babylonian Ishtar, in earlier Sumerian Inanna, which, I mean, that time period alone is very fascinating for me because it's such a raw piece of history. You know, everything was just so new in the world, and where demons very likely could have walked among men, angels could have walked among men, but as interdimensional beings, they were called angels and demons. So I think back then they were very, very realistic representations. But in the picture of Dictionary Infernal, Astaroth is seen riding like I don't even know what that is, like a bat or a dragon, and has a snake in his hands.
He must have gone to that school. He was the valedictorian.
I was to say, is it a red dragon?
It might be. It might be.
I remember it wasn't the lusty. I was drawn to Asmodeus because when I was doing the, if you can, I guess, call it this, I was doing the lines of origins for each one. So I was cross-referencing different cultures where the demons were being referenced and their lineage. I had found his lineage most interesting because when he was like becoming kind of mainstream in the different cultures as a demon, he was at first listed as the husband of Lilith, like the eventual husband of Lilith, which, okay, fine. But the thing when I dug even deeper that I thought was really interesting is that they were saying no, he was actually the firstborn child of Samael and Lilith. And if you recall, Samael is an angel. And so it's like, oh, that's scandalous.
Yeah, the seraphim.
Is that a seraphim, though? Because that's a demon and an angel. Because Lilith was a demon at that point.
So what would that be called? Because remember, it said that somebody I said was the Duke of all the seraphim in hell, which is like, to me that was like aren't seraphim angels and humans?
Yeah, so Nephilim, maybe?
No, that's Nephilim. Yeah, that's Nephilim is angels and humans. So what's the seraphim are technically angels then?
Angels and humans are seraphim, I believe. Right? I don't know.
So what's Nephilim?
Ah.
That's for another episode.
That's for another one. But you know what? I mean, isn't it redundant? Because if a demon is a fallen angel, then it's just like it's still an angel. It's just one's fallen and one's not. So, and technically, Lilith didn't start off as an angel. So she's like a fallen human that became a demon. So just all the interesting, like just text and interesting, like the fact that so many cultures reference the same thing when we didn't have the internet and the telephone and stuff like that. They reference Lilith, they reference Asmodeus, they reference these things, right? So
it is Nephilim.
It is. So it's just like, it's interesting to me. It's like, it's really cool because, like, where is this coming from? It's coming from somewhere. Is it that collective consciousness where there is something out there and we're calling it different names that are
I'm sure.
demonic, that maybe, maybe they are religious in nature, but maybe they're not. Maybe it doesn't
I
matter.
think it comes to like understanding. It's our puny brains don't really comprehend it, especially back then. We took everything that was important, as otherworldly. Anything that was more advanced or looked spiritual, then we would take it as such. Oh my God, this must be an angel or this must be a demon. Can't be a real thing standing in front of me. There's no way. It says in Diablo, in Associated Media, the term Nephilim is used. So that's on the game. So Nephilim from Diablo, actually, it's a great game, by the way. It said that they're extremely powerful offspring of angels and demons.
Yeah, and in the Hebrew Bible, they were just a group of people, but they were unusually large sized and in strength, so people thought they came from angels breeding with humans.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we're trying to attribute these things to maybe stuff that we just don't understand. And by we, I mean them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess, does it matter? Does it matter at the end of the day if it was a fallen angel? It's this entity that's being summoned through some really dark, I guess, if you want to, maybe we have to take those off of there. Maybe it's not dark. They're being summoned through very specific methods, coming over and ripping people apart because they're not happy.
Well, yeah, and I mean, imagine being summoned using your actual name, which holds power for your particular being. Imagine being summoned for a selfish purpose, and then they try to control you. So I mean, I would be a little pissed off too if you were a very powerful otherworldly or other dimensional being, and you were pulled from your dimension that you're residing in, and like, hey, teach me how to ride a bike, or
all because some asshat knows your full name.
I want to get some girls, yeah, right.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'd be a little pissed off too.
Yeah. It reminds me of, what was it, the State Farm commercials where they used to sit there and do the stupid jingle and then a State Farm representative would pop up and poof.
Oh yeah.
And they're usually like all dressed up with whatever they're doing. So yeah, I don't know, that's what that reminded me of. But yeah, I'd be pissed off too.
Demons in popular culture, I mean, you see that all the time. Names holding power in some of the most popular series, the Conjuring series, in the one where, because she knew or had figured out Valak's name, she held power over Valak and was able to dismiss Valak. In The Devil Made Me Do It, which was also the Conjuring series, the person actually summoned a demon to carry out her will, and the demon was like, can I go back now? The demon was pissed, like wanted to leave. But it was trapped there, so it becomes very irritable, and I think they explained that in the movie too, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's how these sigils work too, right? Like, it's the demon's, quote unquote, true name, and it's being used to pull them and, trap them in the circle until they do your bidding. And that is there's a sense of arrogance about that. That people are using these demons' names to trap them and do their bidding. And they're like, oh, demons are cunning, so be careful. And it's like, you guys are demonizing these demons, but you're the asshats that are trapping them and making them do your bidding.
Yeah.
Oh, great in power, Asmodeus. I want to learn to pick up chicks.
I want my girl to be extra lusty with a side of lustfulness.
Teach me where the G spot is.
Oh, wow.
You don't have to make a deal with the demon. You
could just ask.
You could just ask the Google. Yeah. I bet YouTube.
Hey, maybe that's why we don't see as much demon summoning lately, is because of the power of Google.
That we know of, though. That we know of.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, because you hear all these like little whisperings of Illuminati. Don't shut me down, Illuminati. I'm just kidding. I don't believe in that. But you hear whisperings of occult, elite groups. And maybe that's a thing. There was someone, like a total stranger, who their first question to me when I said I had a supernatural podcast I was a part of, they're like, so how many celebrities do you think are making deals with demons? to get where they're at. And I'm like, that's an odd question to come out the gate with. And they're just like, well, how many do you think? And
7.
seven of them, one for each circle. But
Yeah.
There you go.
yeah, and it's just like, I don't know. I guess, people are always trying to find patterns on why a celebrity died, because they were sacrificed so the next person could be the queen of pop culture. I don't even know. There's a lot of interesting theories out there, but ultimately, I mean, you never know. I feel like it's like Fight Club. Who the fuck's gonna talk about that? Like, yep, on Tuesdays we have tacos and we summon demons. Like, no one's gonna talk about that.
Sounds like a good Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday with a little bit
Demon taco.
demon taco, a little bit of sorcery, or maybe it's Wicked Wednesday. You eat waffles,
Like hot or mild
and
sorcery.
hot or mild.
Hot, please.
Hot or mild demon.
Hot or mild demon. Who are we summoning today? And I feel like there are people. I don't think it's just one or two. I mean, we know that Crowley had a whole following trying to create like a demon child or a moon child.
Yeah, that guy was crazy.
Yeah, like he had a whole following of trying to put Baphomet into a child, and how many people he had in his following. And that's still around, guys. Like, there are still Crowley churches out there.
I have his book.
Oddly enough, it's like predominantly like popular in Utah. So you got the Mormons and the Crowleys, and it's like,
Not surprised.
yeah, the irony is not lost on me. But with that said, are people really reducing how often they do it? No. I think that if nothing else, they're just not documenting it, because it doesn't need to be documented. Like, people know not to talk about it. And so it's very Fight Club like. And I imagine if you're not doing it by yourself, but
It's like masturbation.
Right.
it's like masturbation. I guess it depends. If you're doing it in a coven, you're like circle jerking, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
either way, just don't do it. It's not worth it. Because, what's the most comprehensive text that we have out there on this? We have like the Lesser Key of Solomon, we have the Grand Grimoire, we have Demonology. There's not much being written out there, and for a reason. I think people are doing it, but how many are actually coming out of it? Because we don't know what that looks like, right? We don't know what a successful demon summoning looks like. Is this a lifelong thing, or did they die? But is it going to be as horrific as we see in the movies? Or is it going to be something like they had a heart attack because this demon, seized their heart? I don't know.
Yep, I agree.
Or like you get to a certain point where it starts to work, and then it's like, oh shit, never mind. Just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a lot of sexual encounters I've had in my life. Sometimes you just choose not to carry through.
You want me to edit that out?
Well, we did say with the 3Haunted twist, didn't we?
We sure
So
did.
That's kind of our thing.
You sure Asmodeus isn't your demon?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this for kids?
Not at all. Yeah, this is Demonology for Children 101.
Yeah. Excellent.
What we visually take in still takes energy, like it still carries energy, especially with the sigils. So when I'm looking at the Lesser Key of Solomon, I'm not staring at the 72 sigils. I'm just like, okay, cool. Gonna just scroll on up past that sigil, not making eye contact with it. It's like eyes up here, right? I don't want to look at the demon nipples.
I used to write them. And I had a notebook. I think I have that notebook. I used to write the names of the sigils that I liked way back when, and try to like master what they looked like and everything.
Wow, you were really committed.
I probably should throw that away.
Yeah, you should probably burn it.
Something.
You put your energy intertwined with that. I wouldn't just toss it out.
Yeah.
to burn it up or sage it and then burn it and then bury the ashes under, a full moon. I don't fucking know.
Right.
I was very fascinated back then.
He says was. Did you know with the sigils, fun fact, they actually came about prior, and it was actually rooted in astrology. So they created sigils based on planets, and then planets had certain characteristics that they would then use to help people almost through rituals, but in a helpful way. So, for example, if a woman was having issues carrying a child to term, they would create a sigil using Venus and do a ritual to maybe help her with that. So the sigils were originally associated with planets.
Yeah, you see a lot of those. If you've ever studied, I had it on alchemy. If you've ever studied alchemy, you see a lot of that, a lot of planetary sigils in alchemy representing to certain things.
That's cool. But you see how anything can be swayed to the dark side. It's like, we're going to help people using the planets. Demons.
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 It's the devil.
It's the devil.
If demons are so powerful that they can grant your deepest, darkest desires and make things happen, like manifest that girl falling in love with you, which, by the way, really negates free will, but sure, let's run with it. Or free agency. But, like, if demons are really that powerful and have that much influence over the earth, why are there rules to being able to trap them and command them? Like, wouldn't they be beyond that if they're able to influence our world that much? Not that I'm baiting you, demons. I'm trying to understand how something so powerful and complex can be...
Well, just like math or anything as such has its own set of rules it has to follow, and certain rules you can't break without being chaos. So when you are a powerful being like that, you can pretty much do whatever you want. Think of it as the genie in the lamp. Cosmic grand superpowers, little itty bitty living space.
Itty bitty.
But it's they have these rules because they have to follow them. They all follow this hierarchy, and they all follow these rules so that there isn't chaos. Because guess what? Chaos slips into both realms, not only ours but theirs as well. So when they don't follow the rules, they're only fucking themselves, and that's why they can't mess with free will too. It would be chaotic, and who's to say that one of their own kind wouldn't just use that and take over if they could just mess with free will?
But it seems like that's what people are afraid of, that they do mess with free will. They do mess with free agency, whether they're making someone fall in love with the summoner or possession. Because at some point, a person's not going to want to be possessed, and they're fighting the possession, but then the demon is taking over that possession, hypothetically speaking. So, like, there is an element of power and dominance over free agency. It's just so many, it's interesting because it's like they have all, like, according to why demons are summoned, right? They have all knowledge, they're omnipotent, they're magical, they're capable of things we're not capable of. And it seems like knowledge is the biggest one, right? People want to know things and have power because knowledge is power, especially back in the day when they were first being summoned, I assume, where education, books, knowledge was not given to the common man. So that is power in and of itself. But nowadays, it's like everything's on fucking Google. So what then is the reason for summoning, if not power in a different way? People want to live on, right? They want to be a legend. And so it's just like, give me power. So then I am a legend and whatever.
Talent.
Yeah, talent. And it just, I don't know. I just think it's interesting that they're bound by these rules and yet we're not. Like, we're exerting our will and taking away their free agency, right?
I think we still are. We're bound by the rules that we follow on an everyday basis, just like laws. And if we veer outside those rules, it creates chaos or it creates opportunity for power, which is risky.
Yeah.
So what's to make them different? There's rules. And I always think of this too. Whenever I was in boot camp, I always thought, like, what would they do if I just told them, fuck you? No, I'm not going to do that. I don't have to do that. Like, you're going to make me? Like, why would I do that? Like, I just thought, like, what if they just told me, or what if I told them that? Or why am I so afraid? Or why am I so willing to just follow their lead and follow the rules and follow? Because it worked for me. Because I knew if I did, it would be an easier route than the other. Same with them. They meddle, pull the strings here and there. It's easier for them. They're winning gradually, day out eternity,
Wow.
Now I might be speaking clearly on Christianity text.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't even talked about the other cultures. What is it? The Caribbean jinn, they have the Jumbi.
Yeah.
And then the Hindu philosophies, they have the Rakshasas? Rakshasas?
Yeah.
They have the Rakshasas, which is a shape-shifting demon.
Well, the demon in Exorcist was Babylonian,
Pazuzu.
Pazuzu, and that, I mean, that's what I'm saying. That time period, man, that's a scary time period. Scary.
Yeah.
What was it about that time, though?
It was raw. We were so early as a species or as a society that really the powers that be that are way more advanced than we are really could just shape us and could meddle and could just walk amongst us without having to be all over YouTube. And they could, do this here and there and still make us believe that they or question if they existed or not. Now, if a demon walks down the street or meddles here and there, we catch it on YouTube and we post it all over the place. And now it's common knowledge that they exist, and it's no fun for them anymore.
But everyone thinks it's CGI, so it's almost their time to play again because they're like, no one's going to believe it anyways.
Yeah.
This is a doctor video. That's not real. Like, they're getting, back to a space where they can openly give us the thumb because, like, nobody believes that shit anymore because it's just all, like, CGI. Thanks, Marvel. But, yeah, this is really interesting. You guys have any final thoughts on Demonology? This was a good intro. Demonology for Kids 101. Any thoughts before we go for the evening?
Yeah. For part one. We can continue part two another time.
Yes.
On how to.
How to. I'll give it a good old try. And we should all pick a method and try it. I'll do the blood magic route. You guys find your route.
I'll finish that spell.
And you'll finish your spell. Yeah, exactly. And John will,
I'll find something, I'm sure.
He's nope. Nope from me.
And we'll all see how it works. So if I come back and I have a different sounding voice, don't be concerned.
Hello, this is Ashley.
Now she sounds like this.
This is my voice.
There is no Ashley, only
Zoo.
I'm your daddy now, bitch.
Did you watch the new Ghostbusters? I loved it. I
it's
loved it.
amazing.
Yes.
It is amazing.
Loved it.
Great.
Such a good movie.
Perfect homage to the original.
Yes, I absolutely
Yes.
2000% loved it.
And by the way, CGI Egon blew my mind.
Amazing.
Right.
Blew my mind.
Spoilers, even though, by this point when this freaking comes out, y'all have probably never seen it.
If you haven't seen it, F you. I mean, watch it.
Watch it.
I totally cried. Like, not gonna lie.
Exactly. I didn't expect to cry like a little girl, and I did, and I don't care.
I don't care either. It was so great. It was so, so great.
Amazing.
Such a good movie, yes.
On that note of amazing Ghostbusters Afterlife, thank you again, Shane, for coming onto this and giving us your awesome knowledge.
Yes. Thank you, Shane.
Happy to be here. I hope I didn't babble on too much. Babylon.
Babylon.
Oh, you.
Wow, I think we all just pulled out our inner Janice from Friends there.
Oh my God.
All right, John. Bring us home.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of 3Haunted. I am your co-host, John Thomas.
I am Ashley Lunar Goddess.
If you have any questions, comments, or again, I'm going to say this, concerns, please email us at 3hauntedpodcast@gmail.com. And if you haven't done so already, please like, follow, and share with your friends all of our social media. You don't want to miss one crazy fucking moment.
Until next time. Join us and our returning guest as we delve into this deliciously dark world. It's not delicious. We were just talking about KFC though.
I don't want chicken anymore. Yeah.